Hello, beautifuls. This is Karen from Mannadelight, and I've been asked several times to share my story, and I've been meaning to do it, and I guess just now is the time to do it. First, just a little background information about me. I grew up in Illinois, born and raised in Illinois, and never ventured from there for 40 plus years. Until now, I just absolutely packed up and moved across the United States to California, embracing the second half of my life and just embracing my journey. I was a single mother for many years, never been married, and lived my life as a heterosexual female. In the summer of 2015, I started to be attracted to women. And, I thought, like everybody else thought, I was going through something. Midlife crisis, whatever. I just got an itch, I got a scratch, I don't know. But it was just, it just happened. And so I just was like, okay, my life is changing. It's, it's time for me to really, really, embrace it. But before that, I'd already started on a journey and didn't know that I really had, because it was just one of those things where I said, you know what, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And I was severely overweight and was like, I'm changing my life. And so I set out to do that. And then this happened. The attraction to women, and I formed this crush on a woman who I knew was a lesbian and had worked at the local grocery store. And so it was an infatuation, no doubt about it. It was a crush, and I was like, I'm going to pursue it. So I proceeded to seek her out and go into her job and talk to her and tell her that, we had a mutual friend on Facebook, which we did. We had a couple, actually. And I told her, when we were having that conversation, I said, well, I'll hit you up on Facebook. And she's like, okay, do that. So I did. We planned to go out, which we did. And it was obvious that it was not a match. There was just a lot of things. She's a big drinker. I'm not. And that's where she wanted to go, was, to a bar. I would have rather went to dinner and took a walk and maybe talked, So it was that. So, I endured that. And then her trepidation about me was that I was honest, and I told her, I've never, this is new, and I'm just feeling my way. And she had some trepidation about that, of course, because she had been with someone before who was on the fence and, ended up going back to men, and, and she was hurt. So it was just not a match. And then soon after, I want to say it was not even, I don't even think it was a month had passed. I was still curious. I was still, on the internet and everything, and just, the attraction was still there. And I had seen a picture of a flyer on Facebook, and my twin, who I didn't know was my twin at all at that time's picture was on it, and that was it. I seen her face. Her eyes drew me completely into the picture. I can't tell you and couldn't tell you who else was on the flyer, but there were several other people on there. And that was it. I said, I know her. Where do I know her from? And she was real familiar, and it was like it was a childhood familiar, and like I'd known her before, like we had went to grade school together or something, and so I thought, well, she was several miles away, like really far, about 1,000 miles away. So I was like, well, I know that we lived in Indiana for a little bit, so I thought, I'll try to research this out. Well, I found her on another social media site, and just was just looking and trying to figure it out. And then I discovered that there was a large age gap, and I'm like, okay, well then we clearly weren't in school together. So it just was one of those things where I was just really curious. Like I've seen her before, but she is she's clearly active in the lesbian community. So that's a circle I'd never been in as well. So it just wasn't adding up, but it was, the intensity of it was real. And it was everything. It was love, and it was sexual attraction, and it was concern and caring, and it was family. It was just deep. It was very deep connections. It was real, and it was like I immediately knew her. Like I could tell from the image that she wasn't that person, and I knew who she was deep down inside. And that's kind of what I was saying, to her, is that I see you, like if I made comments, it was, I see you, I see the real you. But so then after more research, I found out that she actually is a business owner, and that I was actually in need of her exact service. Well, this was, of course, set up by the universe. And so I employed her, which started a business relationship with us. And we would have consultations via Skype. And so I was pursuing that. And we spent some time that way talking and all of that. And what happened is that our voices and the communication just via Skype actually activated us both. And I know I was activated, and I could tell that she was as well. And that was just her soul letting me know, basically, that she had been activated. She probably has no idea, and she has no 3D consciousness of her soul, of course, communicating with me. But it was, and I seen the clear transformation, and I seen the camaraderie and the connection between us, irregardless if she didn't see it or not, or was 3D confused and didn't know what it was that was happening to her. And that's just kind of how it happens until they fully awaken to their true soul's path. So then upon that activation, she began to trigger me. And I had no idea. I still didn't know what or who she was, other than I just really liked her and wanted to get to know her completely. Actually, I was in love with her. You know what I mean? Not in love with her, but I knew I loved her. You know what I mean? There was no romantic carrying on or anything between the business. It was just that. But there was a love there, of course. So I was saying to myself, why is she bringing out the worst in me? Why am I getting mad at that? And it was just like, it was really creating conflicts. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, you know, so that carried on, and we had a confrontation about, you know, she had said something, and it was rather crass in one of our Skype sessions. And I just was like, dude, no. If that's where this is headed, I'm not interested. And I know now what that was just prodding me to stand in my power. That's what her soul was doing for me, and letting me know that that's really what this journey is about as well. So, but at that time it was a trigger, and, you know, we almost ended the sessions, but we did not. And I had left it in the ball in her court, and she, you know, opted to continue. So then it was just on, you know, and we carried on. And then I would say 4 months later, a girl at work was talking about a local psychic and how wonderful she was. And I had never been to a psychic. I was born in a Christian, very strict religious Christian home, and was always told that psychics were of the devil, and so I never went there. But this was another setup, of course, from the universe, a plan for me to find out what was really happening. So I went to her, and she's a psychic medium, so the session was beautiful. I had some grandparents that came forward, and my dog Jake, who was a German Shepherd, he was there, and that was precious. So it was a very beautiful session, and then we were talking about, you know, she said that I was going to have a big career change, and that I would be moving. And I said, well, where do you see me moving? And she goes, where it's somewhere coastal. And I said, could it be? And I named my twin state. She goes, well, it could be. Do you know someone there? And I said, well, yeah, you know, I have a business acquaintance there. And she said, well, that is your soulmate. Oh, there it was. And this big relief came over me, like, there it is. So these months of trying to figure it out, there it was. There's a soul connection. And so then that started me, of course, on a research of soulmates and soul connections and all of this and that. So this was setting me up, of course, to let me know I was on a soul's journey and all this and that, you know, we were connected and everything. So then I was like, okay, this is what's going on with me, you know. And before going to the medium, you know, and for me to even embrace her and embrace the fact that my grandparents were coming through, I had to read up a little bit about it, and, you know, and then there was this element of reincarnation and all of these things. And so, then after that, I was on the soulmate and soul connection and all of that track. And so then I found this psychic soulmate, and it was probably a month or so later. I had reached out to her for a reading and told her, you know, what had happened and what I had been told and all of this. And I said, I just want to get some confirmation of it, if I could, please, because I needed confirmation, of course. And that I just needed also to know everything that she told me, you know, as far as me moving and career change and all of that. And she confirmed all of it. And she said, let me tune into your soulmate. And she did. And she's like, wow. And she's describing what she's seeing. And she said, you're more than soulmates. This is a very deep connection. You're twin flames, you know. And she said, I can see you. And she's seen us in our spiritual form as flames. She said, that looks like bodies, and you're spiraling and spinning together, and you're amazing. Oh my God, you're so beautiful. And when her description of it, you know, made me cry, of course. And of course, at the time was twin Wada. And she had to repeat it. And she said, I don't know much. I know that it is, you know, a difficult path because of the connection and how deep the connection is, and how, you know, you've known each other for many lifetimes. I know that. And so she encouraged me to do research, and that's what I did. And so my next months were inundated with all of this. Well, you can imagine my next session with her was like, what the God, you know. And I'm like, and both of them encouraged me not to tell her that she needed to come to this information on her own, because people freak out about that, because it is, it's big and it's important. And it's, you know, when people say that, you're not just another person, you're just not another, relationship. It's deep. So I did not, but it was getting obvious that, after reading some information, and I read a lot of misinformation about the twin flame journey and how it was just going to be horrible and difficult. And so then I started getting nervous, and I started getting like, oh my God, like, you know, she already has made me mad. We had already had a trigger. And because what was happening was that her soul immediately started mirroring to me what was broken and what needed to be fixed and what needed to be healed. So her soul immediately started on that. And the biggest of those, of course, was my self-esteem, my self-worth, my self-love, my body image, all of those things. I had to love myself. I had to know how powerful I was. I had to step fully into my beauty and the magnificence that I was and am, my divinity, my sovereignty. And thus we have triggering. And that's what we do for each other. And it doesn't have to be hard, and it doesn't have to be difficult. You just have to understand it. And you have to understand and come to the awareness that that's what it's about. It's about healing you. And when you heal yourself, they heal. And then that's when union can happen. And that's why we came here, was for that. So, to evolve and to finally reunite at this time, of course, for humanity, like I've said. So, it became to the point where I really couldn't face her. Like, it was so obvious how much I didn't love myself. It was obvious how much I was thinking how I wasn't good enough for her at all. And, you know, I just was not good enough. I knew my insides was. I knew that I was the person. Because I knew I loved myself on the inside. I was always a giving, loving person. No one could ever take that away from me. I was always decent to people and cared for people. And but always giving to my detriment, and so of course that had to come into balance where I had to receive and I had to accept that I had needs as well and that I was important in those things. So it was out of balance, of course, but but on the outside and being able to live up to the status quo and all of that, and so it got to be really, really difficult. And then other things started happening in my life with my family. And it got to be just entirely too much. So I ended our sessions, but we remained in contact until we seen each other. She was, it was her birthday and she was having this get together, close to where I was at. And and she asked me if I was coming. I wanted to come. I'm a baker and I wanted to bake her something and I just wanted to meet her in person. I knew that was important. Regardless of what was going on and how I was like freaked out, I knew that I still had to see her in person, that there had to be that connection made in the physical. And, so of course I had kept in contact with the psychic soulmate. She's been wonderful to me. She's given me wonderful information and insight, and she knows our energies. And she told me exactly how it was going to go down. She was like, this is a business trip for her, and, this is going to be fun for you. Just know that it's going to be brief and that, there's going to be a lot of people around wishing her happy birthday, and it's just going to be very brief, and do not have any expectations. And I had already, of course, put expectations on it. And so I had to let go of those, and I just went with the flow. But it was a brief encounter, but I did get to deliver her a gift. I did get to meet her in person. It was important to do so. So I did that. And after that is when things really switched. And what I've known or found out as well is that when I met her and in all of those, I was in my masculine energy at that time because normally, and I'm saying normally because not every journey is exactly the same. Normally, it's the masculine energy that finds the feminine energy and starts the ball rolling. So I was in my masculine energy at that time when I found her and pursued her. And what I found out is that we switched, because then she pulled away completely. Completely. It was like night and day. And so then she started the running away, and I was like, what happened? I thought, okay, well, we can't even be friends or anything. And so then that's when I linked up with some twin flame coaches who were advertising about running and chasing. And I've soon learned that they are not, they're not true teachers. And some of the things that they led me to do, of course, was part of my plan. I was meant to link up with them, and they, for whatever reason, maybe dismantling their false teaching, making it easier for others to dismantle from them is why I had to go through that. But it was definitely a learning experience for me, and it was a learning experience for them. And but they had, under their guidance, had told me to tell her, to reach out to her and express how I really felt about her. And so I did that, except for, I didn't go into soulmate, twin flame, love, any of that. I just told her that, I was sorry for the disagreements that we had and could we start over, that I really wanted to start over with her. And it took her a while to respond to me. And when she did, she expressed confusion and all of that. And, she'd never even thought about anything like romantic or anything. And I really, now I know she was trying to talk to me. At the time, I took it as rejection. And so then I pushed her away. And I pushed her away rather harshly because I lashed out. And because that had just been one of those things that needed to be healed within me as well. Of, I would just be like, okay, done. Delete, block. You're trying to hurt me? I'm out. And so that's what I would do, and that's what I did. And so we're not in communication at this time, but it's coming, and I know that her soul continues to come to me in dreams, and it continues to talk to me and show me that I watched something, and she was clearly channeling our union, and it was everything. She laid it out and didn't know it, really. So we're of course waiting for that full awareness and that full recognition, and for them to make the connections that they need to make to know that, you are the other half of their soul, and your true soul's path is together and mission together, and that there is a bigger picture. I always showed her partnership. That's one thing I always did and didn't know that's what I was doing until now. There's so many things, because I had to go back and review our relationship a lot over the past months, and I was really showing her partnership. I was showing her that I was her equal and that I was her partner, and that we had a mission. And not really knowing what it was, I still was, showing her, giving her business ideas, and it was just really weird that that's where my soul was going, but I was showing her mission. And so that's where I'm at. And I wanted to say, and one thing I wanted to say about the same-sex twins is that I had my first sexual experience was with a friend who was a girl, and I had completely pushed that away and blocked that away. But that happened to me as a child, or I was like, I don't know, 11 maybe. That happened to me then because I needed to make a connection. When I woke up to my true soul's essence, and it is really a lesbian woman, that, me and my twin soul reincarnated as lesbian women for whatever our mission is within that community. I needed that to connect to, so I wasn't like totally nuts, because then I was just like, oh, okay, well, I knew it when I was 11, and I just pushed it away because of my religious background. And so it was easier for me to embrace that and connect to that, going back to that. However, I have known other same-sex twins who have embraced their twin as their same gender, and had never lived their life that way as well. So I wanted to put that out there, that is true and real. And that's another confirmation for me on how I know that this is real, because, it happened to me. It happened to me. I didn't go seeking this out. It was something that just came on, so, that's another reason I know that it's real. I didn't just say, okay, I'm gonna switch to women. The attraction happened to me first, and it was one of those things, And so, I wanted to let you know that can happen. I just wanted to tell my story, so if there's someone out there who, wants to, or is trying to make some connections, this is my story, and this is how it happened for me. And how I came to be a same-sex twin and be within the within that community. And I don't pretend to know, what it's like to live my life as a homosexual, but I know that I'm here to heal that dynamic probably in several areas, especially empowering women. So that is my story, kids. I'm getting ready to walk into work, and I just wanted to share it. That's me. If there are any same-sex twins out there, I do have a Facebook group. I will leave my Facebook link below. Add me as a friend. Shoot me a message, and I will add you to the closed same-sex sacred union group for same-sex twins. And if you need me for anything, I always leave my information below. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Thank you for being on this journey with me. I love and appreciate all of you. Have a blessed week. Namaste.